Assalamu alaikum. So I was passing the time doing my favorite thing in the world, which is watching the Fed chairman testify in front of the Senate Banking Committee. And what caught my ear is an exchange between Elizabeth Warren and the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, wherein a point that I think is missed by many is made by Senator Warren and highlights really a very huge risk that we face moving forward. So let's get right into the video and listen to the exchange, and I'll give you my commentary and explain exactly what I mean.
Thank you, Acting Chairman. I appreciate the help of the Chairman this morning, and thank you for being with us, Chair Powell. So Americans are struggling with rising costs, and all eyes turn to the Fed. Last week, you announced that the Fed would raise rates by 0.75 percentage point, the biggest increase in nearly 30 years. So let's talk about what the Fed is and isn't doing when it raises interest rates to try to bring down inflation. Let's start with gas prices. The price of gas is up 40% since Russia invaded Ukraine in February. Chair Powell, will gas prices go down as a result of your interest rate increase?
I would not think so, no.
Okay. And that matters because gas prices are one of the single biggest drivers of inflation. Energy prices overall drove a third of the inflation last month, but the Fed's tools, as you say, have no impact here. So let's look at another necessity, food. Price of groceries is up nearly 12% this year. Americans feel the pinch. No matter how much groceries cost, people still got to eat. Chair Powell, will the Fed's interest rate increases bring food prices down for families?
I wouldn't say so, no.
Okay. So a Fed increase.
So just to level set here and give you a bit of background, the Fed has a dual mandate. Jerome Powell is the chairman of the Fed. This dual mandate is to keep inflation under control. Typically, the number 2% is cited, but I think that number may be revised since I don't think 2% inflation annually is attainable anytime soon. And while it's doing that, the second mandate of the Fed is to maintain maximum employment that allows for inflation to be kept under control. So right now, we live in a period of time where inflation is high and unemployment is low. And so the Fed, like a robot that isn't really thinking, is just resorting automatically to try to increase unemployment in order to destroy demand and bring down inflation. Now, this is a very bad plan because, as Senator Warren was referring to, this time around, inflation is being caused by supply-side constraints. And even if we do cause the economy to slow down, and in fact, we cannot actually gradually slow down the economy. History tells us that there is no such thing as a soft landing for the economy. When it halts, it comes to a screeching halt. We go into recession, and we may even go into a depression, because once you get the slowdown snowball rolling downhill, it's very hard to stop it. And we may end up doing all of that damage and not affect gas prices, not bring them down enough, not bring down the cost of food, as the Federal Reserve Chairman just admitted to.
Won't bring down these prices. And why? Because rate hikes won't make Putin turn his tanks around and leave Ukraine. Rate hikes won't break up monopolies. Rate hikes won't straighten out the supply chain or speed up ships or stop a virus that is still causing lockdowns in some parts of the world. So let's talk about what interest rate increases can do. Chair Powell, you said last week that interest rate increases, quote, moderate demand. Can you just explain a little more about what that means?
Sure. We think about interest rate increases as affecting financial conditions and then the economy through three broad channels. The first of which is interest rates go up, people's demand for, as a result of higher interest rates, will moderate or decline so that supply and demand can get into better balance. The second channel is just asset prices generally. Interest rates, as they go up, will cause asset prices to moderate across the economy, and people spend a little bit less out of their lower level of wealth. The third channel is the exchange rate, which is really just another asset price. And that just basically as the dollar strengthens, as rates go up, the dollar would strengthen, which would tend to drive.
So the Fed chairman respectfully did not bring up the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that the interest rate hikes are going to cause businesses to invest less. It's going to cause hiring to slow. It's going to cause unemployment to rise. And the hope is that this rising unemployment destroys people's purchasing power and therefore brings down demand to the level of supply instead of working on increasing supply to match that of demand, which is the rational approach. We need to be working on the supply side constraints and focusing on fixing them as opposed to destroying demand. There's not enough stuff. That's the problem. We need to make more stuff. We need to invest more so that we can have more stuff so that supply can match the demand. Destroying demand is an asinine solution to this problem. I'm sorry. And the danger here is that we end up slowing down the economy, destroying jobs, and inflation doesn't come down, at which point the Fed is completely out of options. It can't increase interest rates anymore because the economy is already on its knees, and it can't inject liquidity into the market to stimulate the economy because inflation is still high.
If I understand what you said and what economists are saying across the board is that when you raise interest rate, there's going to be less money to invest. And that is, it's going to dampen business investment. Is that a fair statement?
I think the idea is to
makes it more expensive
moderate demand
to invest
so that it can be in better balance with supply and is well in excess of supply in some areas of our.
Yeah, demand is in excess of supply. So you bring supply up. You work on that aspect of the equation. You don't bring demand down, make people poor, make people who want employment not able to find it.
Expensive to invest, which in turn is going to throw workers out of work. And when they're out of work, they have less money to spend. So I get that rate increases stop companies from spending money to build new plants or buy new trucks or to hire new people, right, Chair Powell? When money's more expensive, they're less inclined to do that. I think that's what you just said on asset pricing, right?
In the labor market, you have a situation where there's a shortage of workers, and there are two job vacancies for every person who's actively looking for work.
So instead of that situation, we're going to have people who are looking for work have a lot less options. That's what we're striving for.
Part of this is to get the labor market back into balance.
Well, you call it back into balance. What I'm trying to get at, though, is what does the tool of raising rates do? And part of what you just said is that it increases, in effect, the cost to invest, to buy those trucks or new plants or to hire new people. The reason I raise this and the reason I'm so concerned about this is rate increases make it more likely that companies will fire people and slash hours to shrink wage costs. Rate increases also make it more expensive for families to do things like borrow money for a house. And so far, the cost this year of a mortgage has already doubled. Inflation is like an illness, and medicine needs to be tailored to the specific problem. Otherwise, you could make things a lot worse. And right now, the Fed has no control over the main drivers of rising prices, but the Fed can slow demand by getting a lot of people fired and making families poorer. And while President Biden is working...
All right, I'll stop it there before the political campaigning starts. You could argue that this whole thing was political campaigning, but the fact of the matter is Senator Warren is spot on with what she's saying. Right now, the Fed is trying to do a root canal on a patient with a shotgun. That's not going to work. It's going to have a lot of negative consequences that may be much more serious than the problem that they tried to solve. My hunch is that the Fed will realize that it can't fulfill its mandate on its own. It can't achieve low inflation and low unemployment on its own. And that if it attempts to do that, it's going to break a lot more things than it fixes. What is needed is not monetary policy. What is needed is fiscal policy, government action in order to fix the supply chain constraints. The fact of the matter is, monetary policy is not the solution to everything. There are some real-world problems that monetary policy doesn't fix. And if monetary policy tries to fix it, it's going to cause more harm than good. Now, what can we as investors do? Unfortunately, not a whole lot. I maintain my position that the best policy is to dollar cost average and not invest based on macroeconomic conditions, but rather based on evaluating individual assets and buying or selling the ones that the market has mispriced. And I don't want people to come away from this video, from this commentary, with the impression that the sky is falling or it's going to fall. I don't think either of those is true. We're definitely in a crisis though, and this too shall pass, inshallah, and we'll be better off because of it and the lessons that we learned during it. With that being said, if you'd like to follow my investments, today I made 5 different purchases. If you'd like to follow my investments, you can do so by becoming a PIF member. You also get access to privileged content written from the perspectives of people who are trying to build wealth in a halal way. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content like it, and until next time, make sure to take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon you all.